Cantos 73 to 75 of Book 2 of the Ramayana of Valmiki, translated by Ralph T. H. Griffith. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by OM123. Canto 73. Kaikeyi reproached. But when he heard the queen relate his brother's doom, his father's fate, thus Bharat to his mother said, with burning grief disquieted, Alas, what boots it now to reign, struck down by grief and well-nigh slain? Ah, both are gone, my sire and he, who was a second sire to me. Grief upon grief thy hand has made, and salt upon gashes laid. For my dear sire has died through thee, and Rama roams a devotee. Thou camest like the night of fate, this royal house to devastate. Unwitting ill, my hapless sire placed in his bosom coals of fire, and through thy crimes his death he met, O thou whose heart on sin is set. Shame of thy house, thy senseless deed, has reft all joy from Raghu's seed. The truthful monarch, dear to fame, received thee as his wedded dame, and by thy act to misery doomed, has died by flames of grief consumed. Kaushalya and Sumitra too, the coming of my mother rue, and if they live oppressed by war, for their dear sons their sad tears flow. Was it not ever good and kind, that hero of the duteous mind, skilled in all filial duties he, as a dear mother treated thee? Kaushalya too, the eldest queen, who far foresees with insight keen, did she not ever show thee all a sister's love at duty's call? And hast thou from the kingdom chased her son with bark around his waist, to the wild wood to dwell therein, and dost not sorrow for thy sin? The love I bear to Raghu's son, thou knowest not, ambitious one, if thou hast wrought this impious deed, for royal sway, in lawless greed, with him and Lakshman far away, what power have I the realm to sway? What hope will fire my bosom, when I see no more these lords of men? The holy king, who loved the right, relied on Rama's power and might, his guardian and his glory so, joy's Meru in his woods below. How can I bear, a steer untrained, the load his mightier strength sustained? What power have I to brook alone this weight on feeble shoulders thrown? But if the needful power were bought by strength of mind and brooding thought, no triumph shall attend the dame who dooms her son to lasting shame. Now should no doubt that son prevent from quitting thee on evil bent, but Rama's love overpowers my will, who holds thee as his mother still. Whence did the thought, O thou whose eyes are turned to sinful deeds, arise? A plan our ancient sires would hate, O fallen from thy virtuous state. For in the line from which we spring, the eldest is anointed king. No monarchs from the rule decline, and least of all Ikshaku's line. Our holy sires, to virtue true, upon our race they last a trio. But with subversive frenzy thou hast marred our lineal honor now. O lofty birth, O noble line of previous kings is also thine. Then whence this hated folly? Whence this sudden change that steals thy sense? Thou shalt not gain thy impious will, O thou whose thoughts are bent on ill. Thou from whose guilty hand descend these sinful blows my life to end. Now to the forest will I go, thy cherished plans to overthrow, and bring my brother free from stain, his people's darling, home again. And Rama, when again he turns, whose glory like a beacon burns, in me a faithful slave shall find, to serve him with contented mind. Canto 74. Bharat's Lament. When Bharat's anger-sharpened tongue reproaches on the queen had flung, again with mighty rage possessed, the guilty dame he thus addressed. Flee, cruel, wicked sinner, flee! Let not this kingdom harbour thee. Thou who hast thrown all right aside, weep thou for me when I have died. Canst thou one charge against a king, or the most duteous Rama bring? The one thy sin to death has sent, the other seized to banishment, our line's destroyer seen defiled, like one who kills an unborn child. Never with thy Lord in heaven to dwell, thy portion shall be down in hell. because thy hand, that stayed for naught, this awful wickedness has wrought, and ruined him whom all held dear. My bosom too is stirred with fear. My father by thy sin is dead, and Rama to the wood is fled, and of thy deed I bear the stain. The fameless in the world remain. Ambitious, evil-souled in show, my mother, yet my direst foe. My troning never thine eyes shall bliss, thy husband's wicked murderess. Thou art not a smṛti's child, that righteous king most sage and mild, but thou wast born a fiend, a foe, my father's house to overthrow. Thou who hast made Kaushalya pure, gentle, affectionate, and dear, the loss of him who was her bliss, what woes await thee, queen, for this? What is not patent to thy sense, that Rama was his friend's defence, Kaushalya's own true child most dear, the eldest and his father's peer? Man in the son not only trace the father's figure, form, and face, but in his heart they also find the offspring of the father's mind. And hence, though dear their kinsmen are, to mother's sons are dearer far. There goes an ancient legend how good Suravi, the god-loved cow, saw two of her dear children straying, drawing a plough and faint with pain. She saw them on the earth outworn, toiling till noon from early morn, and as she viewed her children's woe, a flood of tears began to flow. As through the air beneath her swept the Lord of gods, the drops she wept, fine, laden with delicious smell, upon his heavenly body fell. And Indra lifted up his eyes, and saw her standing in the sky, afflicted with her sorrow's weight, sad, weeping, all disconsolate. The Lord of gods in anxious mood thus spoke in suppliant attitude: No fear disturbs our rest, and how come this great dread upon thee now? Whence can this woe upon thee fall? Say, gentle one, who lovest all. Thus spake the god who rules the skies, Indra, the lord supremely wise, and gentle Suravi, well learned in eloquence, this speech returned: Not thine the fault, great god, not thine, and guiltless are the lords divine. I mourn two children faint with toil, laboring hard in stubborn soil. Wasted and sad I see them now, while the sun beats on neck and brow. Still goaded by the cruel hind, no pity in his savage mind. O Indra, from this body sprang these children, worn with many a pang. For this sad sight I mourn, for none is to the mother like her son. He saw her weep, whose offspring feed in thousands over hill and mead, and knew that in a mother's eye naught with a son for love can vie. He deemed her, when the tears that came from her sad eyes bedewed his frame, laden with the celestial scent of living things most excellent. If she these tears of sorrow shed, who many a thousand children bred, think what a life of woe is left, Kaushalya, of her Rama reft. An only son was hers, and she is rendered childless now by thee. Here and hereafter, for thy crime, woe is thy lot through endless time. And now, O Queen, without delay, with all due honor will I pay, both to my brother and my sire, the rights their several fates require. Back to Ayodhya will I bring the long-armed chief, her lord and king, and to the wood myself betake, where hermit saints their dwelling make. For, senior both in deed and thought, this hideous crime which thou hast wrought, I cannot bear or live to see the people's sad eyes bent on me. Begone, to Dandak wood retire, or cast thy body to the fire, or bind around thy neck the rope, no other refuge mayst thou hope. When Rama, Lord of valor true, has gained the earth his right and due, then, free from duty's binding debt, my vanished sin shall I forget. Thus like an elephant forced to brook the goading of the driver's hook, quick panting like a serpent maimed, he fell to earth with rage inflamed. Canto 75. The Abjuration. A while he lay, he rose at length, and slowly gathering sense and strength, with angry eyes, with tears bedewed, the miserable queen he viewed, and spake with keen reproach to her, before its lord and minister: Not last have I for kingly sway, my mother I no more obey, not of this consecration near, which Dasarat kept in view. I with Satrugna all the time was dwelling in a distant clime. I knew of Rama's exile not, that hero of the noble thought. I knew not how fair Sita went, and Lakshman fought to banishment. Thus high-souled Bharat meet the crowd, lifted his voice and cried aloud. Kausalya heard, she raised her head, and quickly to Sumitra said, Bharat, Kaikeyi's son is here, hers whose fell deeds I loathe and fear. That youth of foresight keen I fain would meet and see his face again. Thus to Sumitra spake the dame, and straight to Bharat's presence came, with altered mien, neglected dress, trembling and faint with sore distress. Bharat, Satrugna by his side, to meet her toward her palace hied. And when the royal dame they viewed, distressed with dire solicitude, sad, fallen senseless on the ground, about her neck their arms they wound. The noble matron prostrate there, embraced with tears the weeping pair, and with a load of grief oppressed, to Bharat then these words addressed. Now all is thine without a foe, this realm for which thou longest so. Ah, soon Kaikeyi's ruthless hand has won the empire of the land, and made my guiltless Rama flee, dressed like some lonely devotee. Herein what profit has the queen, whose eye delights in havoc, seen? Me also, me it were surely good, to banish to the distant wood, to dwell amid the shades that hold my famous son with limbs like gold. Nay, with the secret fire to guide, will I, Sumitra by my side, myself to the drear wood repair, and seek the son of Raghu there. This land, which rice and golden corn, and wealth of every kind adorn, car, elephant, and steed and gem, she makes the lord of it and them. With taunts like these, her bitter tongue the heart of blameless Bharat wrung, and direr pangs his bosom tore, than when the lancet probes a sore. With troubled senses all astray, prone at her feet he fell and lay. With loud lament a while he plained, and slowly strength and sense regained. With suppliant hand to hand applied, he turned to her who wept and sighed, and thus bespake the queen, whose breast with sundry woes was sore distressed. Why these reproaches, noble dame? I, knowing not, am free from blame. Thou knowest well what love was mine for Rama, chief of Raghu's line. Oh, never be his darkened mind to Scripture's guiding law inclined, by whose consent the prince who led the good, the truthful hero fled. May he obey the vilest lord, often the son with act abhorred, and strike a sleeping cow who lent his voice to Rama's banishment. May the good king who all befriends, and like his sons the people tends, be wronged by him who gave consent to noble Rama's banishment. On him that king's injustice fall, who takes as lord a sixth of all, nor guards, neglectful of his trust, his people as a ruler must. The crime of those who swear to fee at holy rites some devotee, and then the promised gift deny, be his who will the prince should fly. When weapons clash and heroes bleed, with elephant and harnessed steed, never like the good be his to fight, whose heart allowed the prince's flight. Though taught with care by one expert, may he the Vedas text pervert, with impious mind on evil bent, whose voice approved the banishment. May he with traitor lips reveal whatever he promised to conceal, and brood abroad his friend's offense, betrayed by generous confidence. No wife of equal lineage born, the wretch's joyless home at dawn, never may he do one virtuous deed, and dying see no child succeed. When in the battle's awful day, fierce warriors stand in dread array, let the base covered turn and fly, and smitten by the foeman die. Long may he wander, rags in wear, doomed in his hand a skull to bear, and like an idiot beg his bread, who gave consent when Rama fled. His sin, who holy rites forgets, asleep when shows the sun and sets, a load upon his soul shall lie, whose will allowed the prince to fly. His sin, who loves his master's dame, his, kindler of destructive flame, his who betrays his trusting friend, shall mingled all on him descend. By him no reverence due be paid, to blessed God or parted shade, may sire and mother's sacred name in vain from him obedience claim. Never may he go where dwell the good, nor win their fame and neighborhood, but lose all hopes of bliss today, who will the prince should flee away. May he deceive the poor and weak, who look to him and comfort seek, betray the suppliants who complain, and make the hopeful hope in vain. Long may his wife his kiss expect, and pine away in cold neglect. May he his lawful love despise, and turn on other dames his eyes. Fool on forbidden joys intent, whose will allowed the banishment. His sin, who deadly poison throws, to spoil the water as it flows, lay on the wretch its burden dread, who gave consent when Rama fled. Thus with his words he undeceived Kaushalya's troubled heart, who grieved for son and husband reft away. Then prostrate on the ground he lay. Him as he lay half senseless there, freed by the mighty oaths he sware, Kaushalya, by her war distressed, with melancholy words addressed. Anew, my son, this sorrow springs to rend my heart with keener stings. These awful oaths which thou hast sworn, my breast with double grief have torn. Thy soul, and faithful Lakshman's too, are still, thank heaven, to virtue true. True to thy promise thou shalt gain the mansons which the good obtain. Then to her breast that youth she drew, whose sweet fraternal love she knew, and there in strict embraces held the hero as her tears outwelled. And Bharat's heart grew sick and faint with grief and of renewed complaint, and all his senses were distraught by the great war that in him wrought. Thus he lay and still bewailed, with sighs and loud lament, till all his strength and reason failed, the hours of night were spent. End of Cantos 73, 74 and 75.